What's up guys, today we're going to be going over the top 10 weapons from Beyond Light, and this list will include weapons that you can farm this season, which means weapons from Beyond Light, Season of the Hunt, and a few weapons from previous seasons in the loot pool. But overall will be the 10 most important weapons to get before the season ends, and make sure you have them ready for the future. And this list will be in order, so the number 1 spot will be more important than the second spot and so on. So let's go and begin with the 10th spot, the Posterity. This is the raid hand cannon that you can farm from the in chest at the final boss, and it is a 180 RPM with some pretty interesting rolls. My god roll I would go for would be rapid hit, then also one for all. You could also use reconstruction in the left slot instead of rapid hit. And after all the hand cannon changes this season, where the 150s are no more and we only have 120s, 140s, and 180s, I think overall the 180s are the best in PvE right now. And then on top of that, with all the previous hand cannons pretty much being sunset, I think this is the best hand cannon for PvE in the game right now. Definitely worth farming and pairs really nicely with some of the other special weapons from the raid. Before we get to the 9th spot on this list, a quick word from our video sponsor. This video is brought to you by NordVPN. If you're anything like me, you probably live most of your life on the internet these days, whether it be playing games like Destiny, watching YouTube, Twitch, or online shopping among other things. Anytime you're on a public network, including Destiny, you are at risk of being attacked. Using a VPN is almost a must if you want to step foot into either comp or trials these days. And even for someone like myself and the rest of our team, along with other top PvE teams, unfortunately we've had to change out our modems and routers going into large DLCs and day 1 raid attempts. So don't be like us and learn the hard way and protect yourself before it happens. What sounds better, buying a $500 modem yearly and having to call your ISP to change your IP, or just protecting yourself with NordVPN? And the great thing about NordVPN compared to others is the ease of use. All you have to do is download the program or the app on any device, and once you sign up, all you have to do is simply hit quick connect and it'll do all the work for you and find the right VPN for you. Right now, to celebrate the holidays with NordVPN, you can get a 2-year subscription for 68% off, and when you use code AIR at checkout, you get 4 extra months free. So go to nordvpn.com/air to start protecting yourself now before something happens to you. In the 9th spot, we have one of the 4 LMGs they can farm this season. There's going to be 1 at 900 RPM, 2 450s, and 1 at 360. Overall, I think the best one of the 4 you can get right now is the Seraph Soul LMG, which is only from the World Drop pool. What makes that one so special compared to the other ones is the fact that I can create Warmind cells, but outside of that one, the ones that you can actually directly farm for, my favorite would be the Raid LMG, which can get the very cool role of reconstruction and also Dragonfly or Rampage. You could also get the Avalanche right now through the 5th, which is when Dawning ends, and that one's gonna be another 450 with pretty similar roles to the Raid one. And the 4th LMG is the one from Europa. It's the one I would recommend the least because it's 900 RPM and doesn't really offer any unique perks that the 450s can't get. Moving on to the A slot will be the first exotic on this list, the Eyes of Tomorrow. And this exotic rocket launcher is insanely good for burst damage. It is among like the highest damage you can do in a single shot of any weapon in the entire game. You can pretty much one-hit strike bosses, you can one-hit champions. This thing is absolutely insane. I finally got it on my account so I can start exploring it in different builds. But the reason this is on the 8th slot is not because it's not good, it's because the raid will probably be around for quite some time. So in terms of priority of getting it before it leaves, the raid will be around for quite some time. That's why a lot of the raid weapons are low on this list, not because they're not good, just because they'll be around for the longest amount of time. Which takes me to the 7th slot, which will be the Heritage, which is the raid slug shotgun, which is pretty much the best special weapon in the game that is a legendary. And the god roll for it would be Assault Mag, Reconstruction, then also Recombination. And this shotgun is not only really good for DPS, pretty much the best kinetic special weapon for DPS, it is also really good just for general gameplay with Recombination. You'll pretty much be able to one-hit every ultra and major you come across when you're playing, just doing anything. Overall, this weapon is probably the best special weapon in the game right now. And once again, the reason it is so low on this list is because it comes from the raid, so you'll be able to farm this for probably a good amount of time, and not just this season. Coming in at the number 6 spot will be the second exotic on this list, the Cloudstrike. And like I was mentioning, the Heritage being the best special weapon for DPS, the Cloudstrike is the best exotic special weapon for DPS. It is pretty much unmatched and is insanely good. You can farm this from the Empire Hunts as a random drop, and once again, because the Empire Hunts are from Beyond Light, I imagine they'll be sticking around for quite some time and not be leaving after the season, so I believe you'll be able to farm the Cloudstrike and get it on your account probably through at least the next year. So that's why it's so low on the list, but it is pretty much the best special weapon for DPS in the game. Really good, and also has really good ad clear, so overall, one of the best exotics they've ever made. Now moving on to the top 5 weapons for Beyond Light. In the 5th spot, we'll have the Cold Front or the Friction Fire, both of which are kinetic SMGs. The Cold Front, in my opinion, is the better of the two, but it is part of the Dawning, which only lasts through the 5th. So once that is over, you won't be able to get it anymore, and that is where the Friction Fire will come into play. On the Cold Front, my god roll would be the Surplus and One for All. Then on the Friction Fire, I'd be using Threat Detector and also Wellspring or Rampage. Both SMGs are really good, both in kinetic slot. The Friction Fire is a 600 RPM, which a lot of people find easier to control. Then the Cold Front is a 750, which has pretty much no stability, but Surplus kind of helps that out. And in my opinion, on PC is the better of the two SMGs. But depending on which one you prefer, and depending on if Dawning is still even going on, you probably would go for the Friction Fire instead. And now moving on to the 4th spot on this list, that would be the High Albedo, which is the 3-round burst kinetic sidearm. If you've been watching my channel pretty much the past year, you know I'm a huge fan of sidearms in PvE right now. I think they're in the highest tier of primaries, right in there with SMGs, ARs, and pretty much that's it. And the High Albedo is definitely the best sidearm in the season and one of the best we've seen in a very long time. It is pretty much one of 2 kinetic 3-round burst sidearms ever. This one can get some pretty cool rolls. The ones I would go after would be Threat Detector, Ambitious Assassin, or Surplus, then Wellspring or High Impact Reserves in the right column. So overall, it has quite a few good perks, and you can kind of customize it to what you want. You can have it for damage, you can have it for ability builds with Wellspring, so it kind of covers everything you want to do and is overall my favorite kinetic primary in the game right now. Then in 3rd place will be the last exotic on this list, the Lament. If you do not have this exotic sword, go get it now. It is pretty much the best exotic they've made in a very long time. It's completely dominating the meta in PvE. Pretty much everything outside of some raid bosses, you just use the Lament almost 24/7. I literally use it for everything outside of the final boss in the raid. Outside of that, this is pretty much glued to my heavy slot, and there's not much more to say than that. It is the direct meta in PvE right now. The only reason it's not the first slot on this list is because it's exotic, which means you'll still be able to get it in the future in some way or another, whether that is through the original quest or from the thing in the tower. But I would not wait until future seasons. I would definitely get it right now and start using it because it is pretty much the best weapon in the game right now. The runner-up on this list will be the Deafening Whisper, which is the Wave Frame GL. If you don't know what a Wave Frame GL is, pretty much what it means is once the grenade launcher hits the ground or impacts something, it will then explode into like a thermite style grenade and go forward over the ground in a straight line and kill anything in its path. And the first wave frame we got was in Season of Dawn, which was the winter season from Shadowkeep, and that one was solar and had some pretty cool rolls on it. But that one is going to be sunset after the season, so this is the highest it will ever be, which is 1260. And that is where the Deafening Whisper comes into play. It's going to be a void one, and obviously from the current season, which means we'll be able to use it throughout the next year. And the god roll I would go for on this weapon would be Ambitious Assassin plus Wellspring would be my #1 pick. You could also get Left from Gold or Surplus in the left column, and also Rampage or even Auto-Loading Holster in the right. But overall, the reason this is the second spot on this list is because the Waveframe GLs are insanely good in PvE. They're among my favorite weapons to ever be made, and given that there's only been 2 ever, and the first one is going to be Sunset, obviously this is pretty much a must pick up in my opinion. And not only are they really good in PvE, they're also really fun to use. So overall, just go get this weapon right now. You farm it from the Wrathborn hunts on Tangle Shore and Dreaming City. And finally, in the #1 spot on this list will be any of the Ikelos or Seraph weapons. And I'm going to be listing off 6 of them in this video. There's only going to be one they can farm directly for this season, and that's going to be the Ikelos hand cannon from the Prophecy dungeon. I believe you can get that as a drop from the first boss encounter. And once you have had it drop from that encounter, you can then farm that encounter over and over again and try to get the hand cannon. And that one's going to be an RNG 180. And the best roll will be Threat Detector and Rampage. And the thing that makes all these Ikelos and Seraph weapons special is the fact that they can directly make Warmind cells from kills with the weapon itself, which, as you know, Warmind cells are insanely powerful and pretty much makes all these weapons instantly the best in the game. The other 5 Ikelos and Seraph weapons I'm already talked about, you can only get from the rolled drop pool, which means from legendary engrams or even vendors. And my favorites of those would be the Seraph SMG, the Seraph Sidearm, the Ikelos SMG, the Ikelos hand cannon, which we already talked about, then the Seraph AR, then also the Seraph hand cannon. So as you're playing Beyond Light or Season of the Hunt activities, if you get any of these to drop and you don't have them already, definitely hang on to them. They are among the best weapons in the game and pretty much will be the best weapons in the game until they're sunset. So definitely keep them if you don't have them already, because they are the best. Anyways, this has been my top 10 weapons to get in Beyond Light. Once again, thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring the video. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.